today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast, Jason and Charlie. Pretty serious stories we have to talk about. Starting off with Jamie Foxx. So we've heard from the family. They're asking for prayers. We haven't got a medical update, but it sounds like it's really serious.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously not a good sign. Like, to state the obvious, 3 weeks in hospital is not good. And this was obviously came out of nowhere. It's very unclear what's going on. But for him to stay that long in hospital, and now after 3 weeks, the family's going, yeah, we need your prayers. It's obviously pretty grim in there. We'll just hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of speculation out there, and maybe it's a little bit unfair, but, you know, it is what it is. Like you said, he's been in hospital for 3 weeks now. Can't believe I said he's been in hospital. You're rubbing off on me. He's been in the hospital for 3 weeks.
Is that Australianism?
Yeah, it's very Australianism.
Oh, good.
I've been in the hospital for 3 weeks now, and you know there was initial speculations about heart attacks, but you typically wouldn't be in a hospital for that long. Stroke seems like a more likely conclusion, but at this point, you know, the family's just asking for help. For prayers. Sorry, we did. You know, we know that he's been working on movies, and they brought in the stunt double to finish up the movie that he was doing with Cameron Diaz. Apparently, 11 days of action that he still hadn't filmed. They brought a lookalike in to do, and he's not going to be on this season of Beat Shazam, the game show that he operates.
But they're still doing the season, aren't they? They're replacing him as the host.
Yeah,
and you know they're completing this movie, which is unfortunately called Back in Action. So
for Beat Shazam, his daughter Kareen, who's been the game show's DJ,
right,
she's not going to be on either. I guess it would be a little awkward for her to continue out and have all this fun with her father struggling like he is.
Yeah, bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, I mean, look, the family has every right to maintain the privacy. That's what they're doing. They've asked for privacy in this matter. But when you're as huge as Jamie Foxx is, you know, I would argue, you know, one of the 2 or 3 biggest stars in the world.
Totally.
It's you know, there's going to be a lot of speculation, and we're going to fill that void with what we don't know. But you know, all in all, it just seems like this is a really difficult time. It's hard to know when or even if he'll return to sort of the person that we've known all these years.
Well, I mean, is it life and death? Is that what we're talking right now, or
we don't know? I mean, at the very least, you know, which is obviously secondary, it seems to be career jeopardizing.
Okay.
I would think, to your point, the 3 weeks is such a long time.
Right.
I mean, in this day and age, people just don't stay in the hospital for 3 weeks.
No.
Younger, healthier people like Jamie Foxx, obviously much older people going through hospice or palliative care do, but not young people. They just don't stay in the hospital for 3 weeks. The fact he's been there means he's very seriously, very ill, very critically ill, and you can only surmise from that you know, God willing, his life is okay. But his career may be jeopardized.
And Jamie Foxx, like, he is. We often say it, like, the most talented person in the world.
I don't think anybody's close.
Right. He can do it all. Just
you said you were watching comedy bits or impressions that he
I
was
was
doing?
watching his impression of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a video clip, but if you closed your eyes, you're listening to Donald Trump talk about rap. That's what he's doing. He's doing
he's
bit.
like he's a human deep fake.
He really is. He can do it all. Like, he's an amazing singer, amazing comedian.
Have you ever seen that bit that Jimmy Fallon does where he'll have like an actor on and he'll give them a song and then say a genre. So he'll give you like God's Plan, but you have to sing it as a Broadway singer or whatever,
right.
you know.
It sounds good.
And it's so funny. He's so freaking talented. I've watched a bunch of them. They're always like kind of cute and kind of funny, and the people that do it are good. He is head and shoulders above everybody else. I mean, he's the most talented guy there is.
Oh, really? So, I mean, hopefully he can recover from this to the point where he's still, you know, alive and kicking. But to lose him from the industry is a loss for all of us, because he's got many years ahead of him, hopefully. And just to not see him do his thing, like, God, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
So, you know, we obviously, our hearts go out to the family and to him. You know, they're the ones dealing with this, and you know, we hope he's back and living a full life as soon as possible. Another sad story relates to Allison Holker, who's the wife, the widow of Stephen Twitch, boss. And she opened up for the first time on the Today Show. Here's a little bit of what she said.
Well, what kind of questions are they asking you about what happened?
First off, they just ask, when is Daddy coming back? And that's a really hard one. And then it'll be like a couple weeks later, like, but does he come back when he's older? Like, when daddy's older, he'll come back. But they are still children and still obviously want him here.
There's a stigma, I think, around when someone takes their own life, commits suicide.
There's a large stigma that comes with it. But we don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in his mind.
So we cover a lot of deaths here at TMZ. We have over the years, and I'm always amazed about which deaths are the biggest. I was relatively unaware of Twitch before he died. I didn't watch the Ellen show. Were you aware of him before he died?
Just by virtue of doing my job, like as a camera guy, I interviewed him a few times.
Right. Okay. His death seems, other than maybe Michael Jackson, seems to be the most impactful one we've had. It's the one that I got the most sort of messages from friends and others saying, "I can't believe it. Is it true?" When it first happened, like it's remarkable how popular this guy was.
Yeah, and I mean, even just that interview there and
Yep.
Allison's statement, it's heart wrenching, and we both got kids, and just to think of what she and the kids must be going through is just awful because. Yeah, I mean, she said it. She didn't know what he was going through.
Yes.
So for him to be able to hide his misery that well and then for it to come to that ultimate tragic conclusion, oh, man, your heart just feels for the whole family.
He left a note alluding to past challenges. We haven't seen it. I doubt that we ever will see it. I think it's something that his wife has kept for herself. You do think about the pain that somebody must be in order to take their life and leave their children behind. I mean, and many people, and to some degree it's true, consider suicide a very selfish act. But at the same time, again, the pain that this man, because by all accounts, he was a doting husband, a doting father. He must have been in such immense pain, at least in those last few moments. It's hard to fathom what he was going through.
Oh, it's incomprehensible because, I mean, going through those Instagram snaps that she posted recently, them, at Super Mario World or playing little basketball.
Yep.
He would love to be there.
Yeah.
And by all reports, he was a great dad and a great husband. So it's a selfish act, in retrospect, but at the time, the
When
pain.
you're overwhelmed with that kind of pain.
You're not thinking about anything else, I mean.
Clearly felt that that was the only way out for him, the only way forward for him.
You're just not thinking clearly, There have been other suicides that we've reported on that have been like, Anthony Bourdain or, people who seem to have it all and are super well loved. And...
But Anthony Bourdain and most others who we've seen recently who have, I've been warned by many listeners against calling committed suicide. Apparently it's an out of vogue term because it suggests that it's something that it chose to do as opposed to an affliction. So we've covered lots of people who have died by suicide.
Okay.
And most of those people, I think maybe all of them, we've known about a history, or at least we've heard about a history of past mental health challenges. Or there's been a precipitating event, something that happened that caused them that gave them no choice. That was what's so perplexing about Twitch, is that his wife seems to be completely unaware of anything that would have brought this on. We have heard nothing, no whispers, and when the story broke, it was the biggest story in the world for a good week. There was nobody who came forward and said, "Yeah, I saw this coming. Yeah, he was struggling. Yeah, he had substance abuse. Yeah, he had huge financial loss." We haven't heard about any of that stuff.
No.
We just heard about a man who had past challenges that clearly in that moment were just too much for him to bear.
Yeah, I mean, it's so it's the saddest thing that can happen to anyone. And I mean, as I said, I had a few run-ins with him at LAX. Lovely guy. Will talk to you about anything. Big smile on his face. He's the exact example of that guy's just loving life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for something the opposite, just something so horrible to happen to him and his family, it just came out of nowhere. And we, as you say, we still don't really have answers, and nor do we deserve them if she doesn't want to share them.
That's right.
But that's why this whole thing is so perplexing, and God, it's just awful.
So sad. Turning on, it's tough when divorce is the lightest story that we cover in a day. God. It's been some pretty heavy topics. But Kevin Costner's wife has filed for divorce after 18 years of marriage. Christine Baumgartner, she cited irreconcilable differences. Kevin's rep told TMZ it is with great sadness that circumstances beyond his control have transpired. which resulted in Mr. Costner having to participate in a dissolution of a marriage accident. You could unpack that statement. What does that mean?
My God.
What does that mean? It is great sadness. Got that part. That circumstances beyond his control.
Okay, so it's all the wife's decision.
That's what he's saying.
That's
right?
what he's saying. Now he has to participate
in a dissolution of marriage action. So I've got to participate in the legal proceedings relating to my marriage.
This is she's the wrecking ball and he's the house. And, and she's just like, the marriage is over and it's all her decision, basically.
I'm sorry to go through this again, but he does not express sadness over the dissolution of their marriage. He expressed sadness over having to participate in the dissolution of his marriage. Is that just a lawyer being a lawyer, or do you think that
you tell me?
I think this is very purposeful. He's like, screw her. I do not want to say I'm sad. I'm only sad that I have to go through a divorce and pay a lot of money to lawyers.
Wow. I mean, this obviously came as a big shock to him.
Yeah.
Did this come as a shock to him, or I don't know? Like,
it seems like it did. It sure is. From that statement alone, it seems like it did.
But then, on the other hand, their settlement seems quite amicable. The fact that he's not going to pay like spousal support, that a prenup's all arranged, we're going to take it. It seems amicable in a certain settlement degree, but on the face of it, that statement is so sort of all her, zero me. You know.
Yeah. So we heard about this. We talked about this morning. She issued an ultimatum to him like a year ago to get off the show Yellowstone.
Why?
Said, well, I mean, that show takes him away. I believe they live in Los Angeles. That show takes him to wherever in the Mountain West that they film Yellowstone. And,
Montana or somewhere.
And she was saying basically the time away is too great. And maybe that's what he's referring to when it's sadness that circumstances beyond his control. Maybe that's what it was, that the film, he's got a career. He's obviously fabulously rich and famous actor. And maybe he's saying, look, my career is beyond my control. I have to do what I have to do for my family.
That almost sounds a bit like Tom Brady, Giselle
it does.
stuff, where this is my life and livelihood, and Yellowstone is one of, if not the biggest show.
As far as premium cable, premium and streaming goes, I think it's up there.
Can you tell your significant other, like, quit that? We want to spend more time with you. Like, well, why don't they go to him then? Why don't they spend time in Yellowstone? You know what I mean? Come on set and meet all the famous. Like, you can sit in my trailer while Daddy shoots. Like,
I mean, the kids are presumably in school. Maybe it's not
true. Oh, forget about school. Forgot about it while I was there.
Yeah. I mean, he's a little older. I think she's younger. So they got together back in the 80s. He was married to his first wife. Apparently that did not stop the two of them. Love, I guess, has no limits. And then they split in the late 90s, reconciled, got back together in order to start a family. So the kids are relatively young. So maybe that was why she wanted to stay. Or maybe she's like, I'm not going to go live in frickin', Wyoming. That's not the deal. That's not the arrangement I came into. We've talked a lot about this. Who was the guy from Grey's Anatomy whose wife basically said
Patrick Dempsey.
Patrick Dempsey. You got
no more cars. No more cars.
Now this was a hobby. It wasn't a career, but he had this hobby of racing fancy sports cars and going really fast. And she said, the cars or me, you got to choose.
He caved.
Right.
Right.
Didn't you think you caved? But then you start like on weekends going out.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing the mistress.
You start with a Matchbox 20, at home.
Right. You build a go-kart for the kids in the driveway.
Yeah, you edge back into it.
Then you take your Ford Fiesta out for a drive a little faster than you should.
Yeah, right.
You buy your car. Yeah.
Is he like hot new bachelor alert? Like, are people going to be throwing themselves at him now, or is he kind of over the hill?
I think Kevin Costner could get basically anybody.
Taylor Swift?
For sure. No, I don't. Not T. But he's what, 65 now? Something like that. Maybe older. Is he approaching 70? T. Swift. We got our entire production team looking to see how old Costner. I'm going to go with 67. What do you think?
I'll go 62.
68 years old. Looks fantastic.
Wow, he's doing well.
68 years old, looks fantastic, is probably worth $200 million or something preposterous.
Taylor Swift should be so lucky.
But one thing he will not do is give up going to Wyoming for you. We know that.
But that is your purpose.
Yeah.
That's your purpose.
That is your purpose.
And also, what do you do then? You're sitting at home. I guess you could act in LA too. There's plenty of shows.
Well, but you get the biggest show on television. To your point, you don't
Right.
give it up. I mean, who gives up the biggest show on television?
Right.
What was there was an actor, David Caruso. He was on NYPD Blue for one season. And in the first season of NYPD Blue, it was in the late 90s. It was the biggest show on television, network television, huge ratings. And he decided to walk away from that because he thought he had better opportunities somewhere else. And the guy never acted again. I always think of it, well, he did, but in bit roles. I always think of that as like, in NYPD Blue went on for a 20-year run.
Right.
I always think about it as the cautionary tale. Like, you never walk away from a role if you got it.
Totally. I mean, if your wife gave you ultimatum
to walk away from here,
leave TMZ. Or with I know how much you love this company. You're a company man.
You know how much I love my wife too.
Oh, absolutely.
No, why did you laugh? What a terrible thing to do. That was horrible.
You give it all away, start a new life out.
I would give it all away. I don't know what that life would look like because I'm not a hinterlands kind of person. I'm a big city where you need lots of money, and so I would have to find a job, and I like my job, so I guess I wouldn't do it because what else am I going to do?
Exactly. What else am I going to do? Maybe they can bring Yellowstone to like Hollywood. And they can just shoot it on a stage.
Back lot somewhere.
Yes, green screen.
Yeah, maybe that was the ultimatum. Like, you're rich and famous Kevin Costner. Just have them develop like some sort of set for you guys. And he's like, no, I prefer my time in the outback.
Maybe he just likes being a bit away from family.
Yeah, I can't really.
This is probably just like the tip of the iceberg, and there's just so many more. He wants to go to Yellowstone. She doesn't really. I think there's a lot more to this probably than just shooting the show.
Yeah. All right. Well, end on that speculative note. Thanks very much for joining us, Charlie. It's fun doing this with you, man. You're good at this.
It was fun doing this. Yeah.
All right. Cheers, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.